Welcome to episode 27 of Comic Book Nation, the official podcast of Comicbook.com. I am your host, Kofi Outlaw, and today I'm back with my co-host, Matthew Aguilar.
Oh, yeah. It's weird. I'm still getting used to the name thing.
I just don't acknowledge it. It's just a phase 4 change we made. We just keep rolling with it.
The plot hole.
Yeah. And we brought back for a consecutive appearance, like we're doing the podcast Trinity all over again. Mr. Brandon Davis is back on the couch with us. Pretty much because of what we're going to talk about today. I mean, let's be honest with the people. We are going to be talking about some things that you've been kind of showing some expertise in recently. First, we're going to be recapping Game of Thrones' big episode, the Battle of Winterfell, the long night, where some pretty big twists happen, and talk about the reactions to all that is still kind of playing out over social media. We are also going to dive deeper into Avengers Endgame. I know we just did a whole big spoilers episode that a lot of people checked out. Thank you for checking that out. But there's still so much to unpack in the film, and we got to talk. So today we are going to be talking time travel. BD took an amateur course on the physics of time travel in movies recently and did a whole breakdown about movie time travel for us.
My head's still
So, yeah, you're going to help us and some very confused Avengers fans kind of unravel all the time travel mechanics that were thrown into the film. Spoilers, by the way, there's time travel in Avengers Endgame. But before we get to all of that, we have some news to take on. And the first is not so much news, except just a solemn announcement and some condolences. By the time you hear this, of course, we lost director John Singleton, who made films such as Boys in the Hood or the other classic Too Fast, Too Furious. He passed away after being in a coma after suffering a stroke. And we just wanted to take a minute to say rest in peace to John Singleton and to offer our condolences to all of his family and friends and fans all over the world. The man was, for me, I think I posted this on Twitter, truly a visionary director in the sense that he really made kind of urban stories about urban America, specifically like urban Black America, like Boys in the Hood, like Baby Boy, stories that weren't being told on the screen at all. At the time, around the same time that groups like NWA were kind of bringing this experience of the inner city and its trials to the kind of music airwaves, John Singleton made this big leap and put it into film. And unlike Spike Lee, and that's not to compare or contrast to Spike Lee or say who's better or anything, but Spike Lee dealt with like racial tensions in New York, but John Singleton was dealing with things like inside the Black community, gangs, poverty, lack of education, all of these things that America wasn't talking about. So really was kind of a landmark director who died way too soon. I think he was 53, was it?
Yeah, he was really young.
Yeah, it was like 53. So gone way before his time. So again, for all the film fans who are really kind of agonizing over that, we want to offer our condolences to John Singleton. But, this is a geeky show, and we tend to deal in more lighter, geekier fare. So let's talk about something that's going to the complete opposite end of the spectrum from John Singleton passing away, which is we got a new trailer for Sonic the Hedgehog, the movie, and with Sonic kind of finally making it to the screen, I think the thing that surprises most people is how much of a horror film this is. Because when you see Sonic and you realize Sonic has teeth, it looks like some.
What else would you expect to be in his mouth?
I don't know. I'm just making.
How is he gonna eat?
I'm just making fun of the fandom. This looks like a standard kind of silly video game movie to me. It looks like it could exist in like a Pokemon type, a Detective Pikachu type of world.
This is more like Hop than it is Detective Pikachu, I would say.
Well, you made.
I don't even understand.
Reference.
Yeah, I don't even understand that reference.
James,
I know, but it's just funny.
Connection.
This is like when we see the views of the thing just drop down to like five people who know
it
how
looks. It looks as fun and ridiculous as I would have expected a Sonic the Hedgehog movie to look. I went in with accurate expectations, and I came away with like, oh, that looks fun.
They showed more footage at CinemaCon, and I thought it looked better at CinemaCon. Also, I think it was very similar footage. They basically showed two different trailers, and it was the same stuff. But I just think, what did you want? I don't know what people want. It's easy to make fun of this movie. It was going to be easy to make fun of any Sonic the Hedgehog movie, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be what's going to be.
Do I think the design is exactly what I would have wanted? No.
No, he should have had a bigger head and shorter
has
legs.
some liberties for sure.
Yeah, but like, so if I were to carte blanche on that, I would redesign some things. People have already started putting their own redesigns, and some of them do look legitimately better.
Man, we're already going to Last Jedi this whole thing. It's not even out yet.
But it was fun and ridiculous.
Jim Carrey, man, should be a great Robotnik.
Jim Carrey's
I think
great.
he's gonna be good.
Jim Carrey's great at zany characters, and cameos, whether it's in Kick-Ass 2 or playing Robotnik in this one. So I'm not worried so much about this. I'm not worried about any of this.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Stupid
a fun, irreverent movie. It's definitely not going to suffer from the video game curse per se that we always see.
Can I also say I love the song choice?
Not as bad. I mean, this is
I
no
do
Doom
not
or something.
agree with the song choice.
I loved it.
Oh, I love the song choice. I thought it was great.
so ridiculous.
I mean, I don't care really, but I just think Gangster's Paradise is a weird tune for Sonic. And if you're trying to be ironic, which I'm pretty sure is what they're trying to do, it still was just kind of weird.
I thought it fit the trailer. Does it fit Sonic? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But watching the trailer and having that song in the background, I was like, all right, I'm in.
Plus, I just love that song.
So do I.
So
I mean,
I got 5 on it.
I say the Venn diagram overlap between Coolio and Sonic is pretty pretty close. So I mean, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it. But overall, I mean, it's definitely something that the kids are going to check out, if nobody else, right?
Yeah, and me.
Yeah. And we've worked together long enough that I counted you in
It's
that
a
first
Sonic movie.
Dude, this is not the hill to die on. I mean, it's a Sonic movie, like you're saying.
It's a Sonic movie.
So
I'll say that
people are
around
just
Rollin.
Gonna hate on it just because I think the weirdest thing are his little muscular legs. Seeing his little muscle legs. It looks like my toddler son running around.
I think it'll be clever. I think it'll be of the caliber of the first Ninja Turtles movie of this recent reboot of the Ninja
Which
Turtles movies.
I actually remember liking.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Been a minute since I've seen it, but I remember liking that.
It'd
movie.
be a movie that comes and goes, and nobody's gonna be mad or overly ecstatic. But it happened.
There were plenty of people mad for Ninja Turtles. I don't know what you're talking
Yeah, there was a lot of people mad at those
People mad at
designs.
everything. I guess.
But all right, so
Got 2 movies.
It's true. It got a sequel.
I mean,
What
is
Bebop and
Knuckles,
Rocksteady?
all I need to know is Knuckles in
Krang.
this at all?
Never thought I'd get a
No,
Krang in a
Knuckles is
movie.
getting a standalone spinoff because another studio.
Knuckles is the best.
Does really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Knuckles is going to be the Venom
I
of
get
the
the joke.
Sonic.
No, I see this probably as if anything, I think there's that one shot at the end of Robotnik looking like he's holding something like Sonic hair or whatnot. And if I remember correctly, and I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong, Knuckles was created by Robotnik. Is that true? Yes? No?
I can't remember if
I
he
think
was
that's how
created.
it
You're looking
goes.
around at everybody for a Sonic the Hedgehog.
I can't remember
think
if
that's
it-
how it goes.
It's been a
So,
long time.
I can see that
Everybody's
happening in
really-
Shouldn't have left you. Sorry. That a
Oh,
dope
man.
beat.
All right.
Dope
Well,
beat.
now that we killed that topic, moving right along.
Step 2.
Moving right along into the land of anime. This is just a quick kind of more PSA. Attack of Titan is back. One of the great kind of crossover animes to come along in the last few years. It was responsible for getting me back into anime as deeply as I'm now immersed. Which
BD
is
used to sing the song all the time in the office.
I don't speak Japanese.
Do you still watch it?
I tried. No, I don't watch it anymore.
Oh, okay. I dropped
should.
off
I
after
mean-
season 1.
Well, this is the time to get back in. I'm sorry to all the anime fans out there. Attack on Titan Season 3 has been really great. I mean, this is a lot of the game changing. It's a lot less of the drama than Season 2 was.
So much. It's like night and day with season 2.
Yeah. See, Season 2 was very slow and dramatic. It was easy to lose track of the storyline. This is just and it's everything you wanted. It's kind of, the first half was barely any Titans. It was just human on human, horrible human on human violence as this whole kind of government order behind the walls got really upset and shifted. You learned all these insights about the 9 special Titans that have shown up in the series. And now we're going back to where the action all began. Shinganashi District, I don't want to butcher that name, but it's in Wall Maria, and they're attempting to reclaim the area that was first lost as part of the series mythos. And this premiere episode is really great. They get back to Wall Maria. There's a whole kind of mystery involved, trying to find these enemies, the special Titans, the 2 special Titans that were traitors and kind of defected from their ranks. And it leads to basically the reveal of a kind of ambush that is going to lead to an awesome showdown in the next episode. If you read the manga, you know how exciting this current arc is and how pivotal it is. It introduces a bold new villain in the form of the Beast Titan, who is like a Titan, but really the most intelligent and kind of physically kind of capable in some ways Titan.
It doesn't seem fair.
But the reveals about that villain draw a much deeper mythos into the story. And it's going to be really exciting to watch. And the action and animation looks spectacular. So
you got me kind of pumped for this. So I have a question. I dropped off after season 1. I couldn't get into season 2 when I started, and I just kind of stopped. Can I skip? Like, could I just jump to season 3?
Well, that's the wonderful thing about anime. You often have to skip a season 2 or 2. Like Tokyo Ghoul is like that. There's some series that are just like that. If you just would read like a quick wiki about like season 2 and then jump into season 3, you'd be much more interested.
Because that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Do I have to watch the live action movies? Because I heard those were really good.
No, you don't.
I detect sarcasm.
The answer to that is always.
We don't condone lying on this podcast.
We really condone keeping it honest for the people, but no, you don't. So, Attack on Titan season 3B now streaming on like Crunchyroll, Funimation, Hulu. Be sure you check back in because these next few weeks are going to be hyped and lit, fam. And I don't mean like a Game of Thrones episode lit. I mean actually lit, like really lit, so you can see it.
Nice. Very nice.
I appreciate that reference.
All right.
I don't even watch the show and I got that reference.
Moving right along. Finally, jumping over to the DC side of things.
Who?
Yeah, I know. Right now, looking at the traffic on our pages for DC in this last week. Yes, but DC is still a thing. Still coming out with things, and
not Wonder Woman. It's coming out next year.
Joker comes out later this year.
Yeah, Joker's the only thing. Which I've been watching that trailer nonstop, so I'm excited for Joker. But that's just me, and that might be more with my psychological.
Yeah, I'm starting to worry about you. You play it literally.
Hey, man,
all day, every day.
I just want to see something. I want to see something honest. Just want to see something honest in the world. I mean, I feel like it's getting crazier.
I literally caught you doing this, like right behind my seat.
I do that behind your seat even before that trailer. But,
Fair enough.
But so there's stuff happening in DC, and we're hearing a rumor that DC might try to make some waves and some headlines by finally revealing who the new Batman is. And in a tweet from some industry pundits, like over the weekend, says it could be happening as soon as this week.
Well,
let's start with BD and Jimmy V over there. Since you guys always have some kind of insider knowledge, do you think we're getting this Batman reveal?
If there was a week to do it, I would say this is probably the week.
I think we'll get it soon. I've heard it might be either Nicholas Hoult or Aaron Taylor Johnson. Or other people, but those are two that I keep hearing from old people. But I mean, there's a list. There's a long list. Those are just two people who might be on it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, do you think it's going to happen this week? Is what I'm more asking.
This week, I don't know. It'll get. It's interesting because the Avengers Endgame news wave is finally subsiding. So all the trailers and all the hype and all the build is finally starting to die. But now you also have the writer interviews and the director interviews, which you should watch Comicbook.com for on May 6th at 6 p.m. Pacific time. Shameless plug. But it's...
this would be the best week.
This would be a really good week because it would really just kind of turn the tide and bring the attention back to DC because Shazam has come and gone. We're far enough out from Joker. And there are, like, what is next? Detective Pikachu?
Right, but that's not even really a Warner movie. That's just...
I mean, it is.
Legendary. Isn't that
Legendary? Warner Brothers and Legendary.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's not going to hurt Detective Pikachu.
Right,
no,
absolutely.
Like, people who are going to go see that,
come out. I mean, it's a good time for it, but it's a question of, is Batman even cast? Does anybody even know if Batman is actually cast behind the scenes?
I mean, we've been hearing things for like 2 years now. I don't even try to keep track of what...
You heard so much about Ben Affleck as Batman. Ben Affleck's not Batman. Ben Affleck is
Batman. I want to know.
Ben Affleck will get down on his knuckles to play Batman for Matt Reeves. How'd that go? So
I feel like you wrote half those rumors.
Yeah, probably.
But their filming is supposed to start fairly soon.
Yeah.
So
isn't it supposed to come out in 2021?
Yeah.
First one?
That was a very Christopher Walken.
It has to start soon.
Yeah. You said that.
What? I think filming is supposed to start late summer to fall.
Yep.
Something like that.
Christopher Walken could play
So they
Batman.
know. I mean, it is like a football game, though. Like right now,
Crusader.
Marvel has all the momentum, right? Like nobody's really checking for DC. They're dropping Wonder Woman 1984.
This is the chance to take the momentum away from Marvel.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Endgame,
saying.
the Infinity Saga's over.
Yep.
And I mean, we're all gonna continue watching
Why do you sound
Marvel
so angry
movies.
about this? We're all saying.
Oh, no, I know.
Hey.
I'm something
I have
I'm interested
a
in.
quick
Can
question. I have a quick question. So at this point, now that like you said, right, Shazam is come and gone. Was Shazam a success? If you look at box office,
Moderate.
Okay.
I mean, as
it's like 300.
It wasn't
million?
it wasn't super expensive. So
and we didn't expect it to.
It was like 120.
Nobody was expecting it to be like $1 billion earner.
Okay.
It was
just
success,
feel
and that
like
the sequel is going to be.
I mean, we definitely
success.
settled the question of which Captain Marvel was going to earn the most at the box office.
Shazam was a better movie.
I'm not going to touch that because that is nowhere listed in these podcast notes for today. So I'm not going to.
I mean, I'll agree. I'll go on record and say like I would rewatch Shazam probably
50 times before I'd watch Captain Marvel 5.
Not me. Not at all. Yep. I'd watch Captain Marvel again a couple times before.
I've already seen Captain Marvel 3 times. Though.
I think Shazam.
I've seen both 3 times.
I think Shazam was kind of weak, in my opinion. I mean, I was no secret about that.
Yeah,
we did a whole review episode about it. So
don't care about the other one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Zach.
Yeah.
You're allowed to.
But
no, I just don't like. It's not. I was curious because those numbers were very surprising to me. For how much goodwill,
high or
surprisingly low.
I
for
think
how
Shazam,
much goodwill it had.
I don't think it was well marketed. Like the week it came out, I had friends that were like, "I've never heard of it," and I was like, "Oh, it's a really
we
good
discussed
movie."
that too on the podcast. It was kind of weak marketed. You didn't understand. It's kind of a weird tone. I could see why it's throwing off some families with the horror elements that people have sparked a little controversy over.
Some families definitely did not.
I mean, it's just a mixed bag of concepts, tones, and ideas. It's not bad at all. But, I mean, I don't expect it to grow that much. Or I expect it to grow, like, on home video.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just expect the sequel to do really well.
Yeah,
I think we'll get a sequel, then we'll get a Black Adam
and as soon
movie,
as you
and then we'll get a Black Adam
So you
Shazam.
do
And
think
I
we'll
don't
get a
think...
sequel?
I think
absolutely.
a sequel could, they could jack up the timeline of this Rock thing and throw the Rock in there.
No, I think we'll get a Black Adam movie by itself. I think you'll see the Monster Society of Evil first.
I would imagine you see The Rock show up at the end of a Shazam sequel.
Yeah, and then we get the Black Adam movie fully.
get-
I could see that maybe an appearance,
We are
but he's not
way
gonna...
off topic.
Anyway, Batman might
bad.
get announced this week.
That was my
Yeah,
fault.
you did this.
That was my fault. I was curious.
Batman,
I was just
so-
curious.
I could see Batman being announced this week or next week. At the same time,
DC
when they announced
needs
Ben
a little
Affleck,
momentum.
it was just like there wasn't really a time.
Wednesday.
It didn't seem like they.
No,
and it was
Wednesday
like
night
late
while
at
we were
night.
all going to dinner.
Ben Affleck got announced at like 10 p.m.
Yeah.
On a
No,
Wednesday.
it was about 7:30. I know because I was literally 1 foot out the door going to dinner and had to turn around and drop to the floor.
It was late. I was.
Dang
Oh,
it,
it must have
Ben.
been a Tuesday night because I was working
What
dollar beer
a
night at the Village
jerk.
Idiot, and I was
know you were
already
there.
there holding the door down. So and I remember opening up the site and seeing.
Well, I
Ben
question
Affleck
all
was there.
memories of dollar beer nights.
I remember nothing from that night, so I don't remember what I was doing.
All right.
Surprisingly, I do, and it was.
But here we go. But so check back this week. We're gonna keep an eye on this thing. I mean, this could just be another empty Batman promise. We've filled
something
a
we
couple
talk about on the
years
Friday
with them,
episode.
Yeah. Or
But
something
obviously,
hyped.
you will know, people, if Batman is announced, we will
New
have
Batman.
it for you.
Yeah, it'll be all over the place. So hopefully, because I could use a little perk of excitement. All right. Well,
What do you mean? Avengers just came out,
I mean, after that, I have post-party depression.
and Arya just.
I
what
honestly
Arya
think
did.
like all this Avengers Endgame stuff by like the end of next week will probably be done.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Well, you
That's a
can't-
very short shelf life.
What do you mean?
What?
In terms of people caring about news?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what did you? Infinity War was
We,
there was
we
a
were writing
sequel.
we were writing about Infinity War for
Yeah, because Infinity
because
War
there's a
ended
lot
on a
of unanswered
an
cliffhanger.
entire year.
Yeah.
The
But-
Infinity War ending was the complete opposite ending of
Yeah,
this.
and we're
This
also
tied
again.
everything
This has
up
nothing to
into
do
one
with what we're
bow.
talking about now. You two are the worst thing
I
for
didn't
this
do it.
podcast.
I didn't do it this
structure.
time. I didn't do it.
I know. These two are always doing it. They start some other podcast within the podcast. Stay
didn't do
tuned because when we get back, we will talk Avengers Endgame and Game of Thrones, and we will talk about all of this. So stick with us. All right, we can flip it around. Let's just flip it around to make it easy for everybody. Let's talk about Avengers Endgame now. And we're going to talk about time travel, but you guys have some issues, yes, about the staying power. No, I don't expect this to have as much staying power at all because, as Brandon said, like, this is the end, my friend. This is the end. And they don't introduce any new questions. It's just, here's the end of the volume.
I walked out and I was
Like,
just
boom, it's
thinking,
like, yeah.
okay, I don't really know if I'm nearly as excited for the next batch of Marvel movies anymore.
Okay, so
Because-
but will general interest fade before box office interest fades?
The box office is going to see a huge drop this weekend.
I don't know about that. I think
You think
'Cause
it'll make?
this was the thing I brought up a couple weeks ago where I said, I think like this may or may not have like the repeat viewability that Infinity War did.
I would have seen Endgame for a third time this past weekend if it wasn't 3 hours long. I looked up times, and every time I was like, man, if I go at 7, I'm not getting home till after 10. If I go at 8, I'm not getting home till after 11. And I saw a 10 p.m. screening on Thursday, and I didn't get home till 2 in the morning. So that is a factor too. I mean, the movie itself is very rewatchable. Watching it for a second time, I had a great time. I might try to go see it tonight for the finally get my third viewing in, but I don't want to go late. And so I think that, and I'm a hardcore fan, and I love the movie. Everybody knows that. And I am probably one of the higher on it than most people are. And I'm having trouble going for a third time in theaters. I think that the casual moviegoer, if this was an hour shorter, you're much more likely to get more people going back.
Did you see it a second time?
I have not. I don't have that kind of time.
But I'm probably not going to see it because I don't want to really.
No. I mean,
I'm good.
not in theaters.
I saw it once.
Yeah, I got too much to do.
I wanted to see it again in theaters on opening weekend because I loved the energy in the crowd, like people cheering. I thought it was super fun, and that's not going to be the case in week 2 because everybody's already seen it. So they won't be clapping when Cap picks up the hammer or when anything like that happens.
Here's the thing. I think the hype is going to die down, yes. I think it'll have steady kind of legs, steady, not like hyper great legs, but steady, because, I mean, then after, there are a lot of people who don't want to deal with the initial wave.
Right.
So people like my mom and dad are going to go and see because this is a big event film. People, even if people have just spot checked in on Marvel movies, the big ones that they've heard about are really exciting or whatever. Like they're going to go out and see this, but they're not going to be online afterwards talking about it.
Right.
You know, it's kind of a good thing for like the upcoming election. You know, there's Film Twitter who has seen Avengers Endgame now, like the rest of quote unquote real America will go see Avengers Endgame, and you know, that's when we'll have weird articles starting to pop up, like things that we answered, like who is the Night King in Avengers Endgame?
It has to have a 60%. It has to have a 60% drop this week, from 350, from 357. What do you think? It's going to make another 170 or 150 this weekend?
I'd say in the 50 to 60 range is my prediction.
I mean, I think it'd be like 110 second weekend, which is a 60-something% drop.
It's good that there is nothing really big coming this weekend, but I'll be really curious to see going into the week after, will theaters give up
Some of those
screen
slots.
times for Detective Pikachu?
Oh, yeah.
How much?
That's
how
not-
much real estate are theaters going to give up? For
I mean,
Detective
that's
Pikachu?
not even like a hard bet to make. Like,
But,
it'll
let's say the Endgame drop is only like low 50s, high 40s.
Wait, you're saying it's make $310 million in its second weekend?
What if it does?
That's not even something to entertain, I don't think.
It's broken every other record. Why not this one?
Because
it's
everybody
incredibly
saw it.
front loaded. Yeah,
Everybody saw the reason everybody rushed the theater was because it had such a
Yeah, don't
climactic
spoil the
ending with the
Endgame.
spoilers.
Wasn't like a fan service message.
No, that was.
It was a get your ass in here opening weekend, subtle marketing ploy.
Don't be like the Domino's guy
Yeah,
that waited too long and then had to punch his coworker
yeah. There's
What?
a lot of those. Yeah,
because he gave away
Yeah.
Avengers Endgame spoilers.
yeah. People are beating up coworkers all across the country in / world over
I
spoilers.
can't imagine a scenario where it makes more than 200.
No,
where
I don't
comes
see it
even
making
close to
more than
200
two.
million in its second weekend. I think
Yeah.
it makes maybe 120, 130 second weekend, and maybe 50, 60, 30.
I think that's a
weekend.
little low. I think close to 2 will be
Really?
between 150 and 2 somewhere.
That's
in that
so
range.
much money.
Because there is a whole other wave of people
who just didn't want the crowds,
who didn't want the crowds on
or
opening
couldn't
weekend.
get in.
Yeah, or couldn't get in and don't go to movies on the week, like because they got lives, jobs.
How much is it
families.
making on weekdays? How much did it make on Monday?
35.
I mean, my family's seeing it today for the first time.
Yeah.
because we
My
bought
brother
the
just
tickets
got
and they
out.
wanted to
Like,
wait.
yeah.
'cause
My
they
older
didn't wanna
brother
deal
just
with
got out a minute ago. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so
They had to
it's
work.
going to be. So anyway, we'll come back and we'll address that again. It'll be all over the site, I'm sure, talking about how and all the conclusions, quote unquote, that we draw from whatever happens. But let's talk time travel.
$300 million second weekend. I'll get a Love You 3000 tattoo.
Okay,
Done.
great. Let's go on.
been
Let's
recorded.
talk time
You said it.
travel.
I said it.
Let's talk time
Domestic.
travel.
Domestic.
Let's talk time travel.
So many holes.
Talk time travel.
Talk, time travel.
There's so many holes.
But
Are there?
Kofi, where do you want to start?
I want to start with just explaining the confusion of the time travel to a lot of people. There are a lot of people who don't really get, I mean, they go through a whole explanation in the film about it, about causality and affecting the past. Is it like Marty McFly rules and Back to the Future? And let's just talk about this first concept about your past being your present, because that can throw a lot of people when they hear all that jargon coming at them at a thing. So basically, the theory is in Avengers Endgame is that you can't just go out back and wipe out something in the past, because that past is yours. Like, whatever you do in the past, you've already lived through that past. And so whatever you change just becomes your new present, but your original past is still there. It's not gone because you went back and changed this. So that's kind of the key concept to really nail down, right?
My head hurts, yes.
Because it's important for this movie because there are literally things they do that undo other things, like Nebula killing herself or them erasing Thanos from 2014, that should make people say, well, now Guardians never happened, or, you know, Infinity War never happened. It's like important to note that no, all of these things that we saw, and this was kind of the cop-out, so that all of the things we saw in the first 3 phases of the MCU actually happened, including what happens in Endgame. But essentially now we're living in, the Avengers are in a new present where they've kind of been through all these things in the past. And there are arguably now separate timelines where things are different, like a 2014 where Thanos and Nebula are gone, or the one that's most debated is what happened when Loki took the Tesseract and disappeared. And, of course, what happened when Cap goes back and lives in the 1940s is the big one. Well, I think Loki is the actually biggest one because it's played as a small moment in the movie, but you don't throw something like that in there.
Especially when you make a big point that Steve has to go back and return all the stones to make sure everything is fine, and there's a stone that has not gone back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In that timeline, that Tesseract never comes back. And so that changes a lot of things in that timeline. They go back to the 70s and then they return it there.
And also possibly sets up his series.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
that'll get answered in his show.
Yeah,
maybe his show will just come full circle and he'll end up going back to that moment and returning it.
So basically, we know, yes, there is a Loki TV series coming from Disney Plus, and now we can presume that this will be tied to Endgame somehow. That it could even be kind of Loki, because we heard a premise that it's about Loki and influencing key events throughout human history. And this sounds like it could be a good jumping off point for him, just trying to be like, what the F just happened? Like, what's going on? And trying to assess, like Thanos had to put together, okay, this is time's been mucked with. Like, that opens up the framework for a story about Loki kind of remembering
Who better
his
do
history.
that than God of Mischief?
Yeah.
You can also feature Thanos in it.
Exactly.
That's going to sell Disney Plus subscriptions. You put Thanos in a trailer.
So that's one big thing. I think the Cap thing is a lot more problematic for people because I can't even begin to wrap my brain around all that.
I don't know how it works.
There's just a ton of implications, right? And that, like, if that Cap, like, the biggest one for me is if that Cap went back and lived a life with Peggy, that Cap knows that Hydra exists, and he either let Hydra happen or I don't know.
Took him out? I don't know. Like what? I mean,
he ultimately defeated Hydra anyway, so why does it matter?
Yeah, he would have had to know that, the rules of time travel would probably make Cap have to just let things play out the way they're supposed to play out. Because his whole point is to go back and not be Captain America.
Right.
And just to kind of live this kind of other quiet life.
Right, because he's not defeating them. I mean, yes, he defeated him in the end.
Right.
Then theoretically, if he stopped them early, S.H.I.E.L.D. would presumably be a completely different organization than it is now.
Yeah, but maybe you assume that Tony and Steve had a conversation where Tony says there's only one way where we stop Thanos, and it's if you don't screw this up, and everything has to go exactly the way it went. And Steve knows he can't do it because 50% of the universe will be dead. I don't know. I think
that to me would break Steve as a character. Like Steve as a character, he would not abide
That's
by
the
that.
point, is that now he is broke. He's different. He chose to give it all up because he's done so much, and he's just like, you know what?
But
I have an opportunity to live a life. I want to go live it.
But Steve would not do what Tony wanted to do when they went to go meet him. Steve would never do that.
What is that?
Even if he was changed.
Steve wouldn't do what? What did
Go,
Tony wanna do?
like Tony was just like, nope, I'm done. I got my happy life. That's all I want. I'm not.
And that's
you guys,
the point.
Yeah,
you
but
guys
the
go figure
events
it
of
out.
Endgame
Steve
probably
would,
changed that.
He would never
seeing
do
Tony
that.
die probably changed that. Seeing that Tony had a family
I don't
and he
buy it.
died and I
That's
do.
not the character.
To me, like if that is the case,
that's how
that's
you-
just as
You think
bad
about the-
as
No.
as,
But that's how
as
you're
Clark
you're
breaking
looking at
in
it.
Age of Ultron, where he says the guy who wanted all that went down on the ice and someone else came out. That was like Steve trying to convince himself that he's trying to convince himself to accept that he can't have a life with Peggy, and he wanted that. That's the only thing he wanted the whole time. That and saving the world and making sure everybody was peaceful. But he did that. They did it. They beat Thanos. The world is fine. What is left in that moment? There is a slew of superheroes. There's a whole bunch of people there who can fill in for him. Sam Wilson is going to fill in for him from that moment forward as Captain America. He doesn't need to do it anymore.
Because even when there is no hope, Steve would not let innocent people die.
There are no innocent people dying now. They just
There
saved
would-
everybody.
But there would be if Hydra still existed.
You're kind of, I mean, you're
Hydra
kind of
doesn't exist
projecting
anymore.
onto the character. Like,
He already beat
you're
Hydra.
projecting onto the character in the sense that you're saying like Steve would go back and have this God complex to save everyone all the time. Like that's not true. Steve Rogers could also be a guy who counsels people and says, you know, hey, it looks bad, but trust me, I know it's going to get better. And actually mean that this time, as opposed to kind of lying as he is in this movie.
To be fair, we
because he knows that, yeah, even though the world's going to go through this darkness, like it's going to come out okay. So he doesn't necessarily need to go back and then be like, let's go back and kill Hitler guy. Like now, like that's
But they
just-
also
Maybe
leave it
he grew
very
up and got
ambiguous.
snapped.
yeah,
on purpose.
It's
so we
ambiguous, so we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
But
None of
like
that
I'm
could
just
be
saying,
true.
within the character, you have to realize this is a guy who's been displaced in time before. Like this isn't his first time. He's already had to go through the stages of learning to let go of stuff and kind of move on. So in his version, this is retirement. Like so, yeah, he knows all the bad stuff that's going to happen, but this is him actively saying, I can leave that to other people. I've done my part. I've done my time. I'm retiring from active duty and not going to focus on that. Now, if that becomes harder than it initially is a story you can talk about later in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But from what we get in just Endgame, I mean, that's the scenario.
What didn't the writers just do an interview, or the directors did an interview where they said it's he might be, they kind of teased he might have created an alternate reality and now he just traveled from one to the other. Didn't they just say something like that today?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know, but
I mean,
I
they could've.
want to point out this when I saw, was it the Winter Soldier where he sees old Peggy, or was it Age of Ultron?
It's Winter.
It's Civil War.
When Peggy
Is it Civil
No,
War?
when he visits her in the hospital, she died. She's dead in Civil War.
Yeah, but no, it's Winter Soldier when he visits her.
When he actually okay.
When he saw her, and I had no idea that Infinity War was coming, or might have known the movie was coming, had no idea what Infinity War was going to be about, or Endgame. And she said, I married a guy, you know, she said she got married, and she was very like not herself because her mind is not right. I thought in that moment, like I was like, what if he goes back in time and he is the guy she marries? I mean, that's possible, isn't it? That he did go back and she married him and she just didn't say it. Maybe she just has one hell of a poker face. I don't know. But it's totally possible that he went back and married her.
I forget if I can't remember if the season
That'll make
of
a
the
great
show
question for
does
the
anything
listeners.
with this. She
Agent
has
Carter?
love. Yeah, she has
Yeah.
love interests in the show.
She
So,
does.
so I don't remember if they imply if one of them becomes her
But
husband or not.
because they leave it so open-ended, you don't know. Like, there's a lot of questions that they could fill in with any number of series and answer a bunch of stuff if they wanted to. I mean, I personally, if the time travel, it really comes down to whether the time travel works as they pitch it. If it's he has to ignore a lot of these terrible things, there is a part of me that after reading Captain America for a lot of years, that character, the whole point of something like Secret Empire is to show how vastly different that character is from everybody else.
So don't
he does
you think
not
he learned
hold himself
something,
to that.
though,
That's
in
not
Endgame?
learning.
No, in
That's being a
Endgame.
hero. Like, that's what being a hero is. You sacrifice what you want for what is better for others. That is the
He
whole
already-
point of
yeah,
Captain
but that's-
America.
But when Tony said to him, "You said we'll lose," and guess what? And I said we'll lose, and you said we'll lose. We'll do that together too. Guess what? We lost, and now they literally did everything they could to save the world. He watched Tony die with his family on the line and everything. He doesn't learn anything from that. He can't just know that in the timeline that he's about to live through for himself, even if he goes to the past, all those bad
That
people are
feels
going
like an
to
immense
be defeated.
amount of guilt to carry around with you.
Yes. And
What is
also,
guilt?
but
What is
here's
the
thing.
guilt?
We can't answer that question because we have no idea what
is the
the
guilt?
directors had in mind when they wrote that scene.
You guys are also remembering Captain America that we saw. I mean, this Captain America that we meet in Endgame lived through 5 years of not being able to do, jack crap to help the world except give phony, help sermons. His whole perspective is one that is much different.
It's different. That's very true.
Yeah. And so, by
I like
now,
how it's changed because before it was me and Jim who agreed,
it
and
could
you
be.
two, and now it's me and Kofi and Matt and Jim.
Yeah,
I like how
it's just
the battle lines are always changing in this podcast.
So we can't answer it, but okay, we got to move on. But let's talk about things that are changed. So Cap's story is a big one that could be revisited in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. What happens to Gamora in those years? Because 2014, Gamora escapes. Thanos and Nebula and all that are all gone. So now she's been in the universe with none of that hanging over her head. So the question, I guess, for Guardians or of the three, besides will we get Thor like we all want as Guardians of the Universe?
Really want that.
Is what the hell has Gamora been up to, and who is she, and why is Gamora now in this jump?
It's kind of like with Groot,
Loki.
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You think about Groot died, and then we got a new Groot. And we acted like he was Groot, but he's a different Groot. So it's the same Gamora. It's just she hasn't done any of the things we've seen her do. It's the same Gamora we met at the very beginning of Guardians, essentially.
Yeah.
So she's gone through all the same history that Gamora did. She just doesn't have the history with the Guardians. Will this Gamora fall in love with Peter Quill again?
I think it's going to be hilarious to see Peter Quill try.
What if she falls in love
especially
with
Thor right there?
That would be.
It's like his muscles are made of Katani metal fibers.
But to me, and I would imagine James Gunn, being an executive producer on the film, factored all of this into his plan.
Oh, I'm
but
sure.
to me, a Guardians 3 that is the hunt for Gamora doesn't really excite me.
There's no way that's the main story.
Oh no! But what if Gamora?
I don't think that's the main
met
story.
a guy.
We have Adam Warlock.
Warlock, yeah.
Finally, jeez.
That's.
Where's Richard Rider? Give me Richard Rider in this damn cosmic movie.
Oh, I hope.
Show me Nova.
If it's as Guardians of the Universe, I hope they just go full cosmic. I hope it's a full cosmic launch pad.
Because
I hope Thor's in there.
I
hope there's a scene they meet up with Carol. I hope there's a scene where they introduce Richard Rider and all of that.
They've gone pretty cosmic already, I think.
Oh, I'm saying, but this should be the official Marvel cosmic.
And please, Lord,
I'd like to
let
see
Warlock out of the cocoon.
Yes.
That's been the most teased and yet just stuck on the back burner thing.
Warlock.
Yeah, Warlock. Just do it already. Fine.
Yeah. So we're gonna see. So those are our 3 time travel questions. Hopefully, our fighting about timelines has helped you in some kind of small way. We have a whole bunch of articles and videos and everything helping to break this all down on Comicbook.com, because we're going to move on and talk finally about Game of Thrones. Winter has been coming for 8 seasons. Winter is here, and true to the name of the Stark family home, Winterfell, because the Night King is dead.
Were you sitting on that this whole time?
What's that?
Were you sitting on that this whole time?
No, I just thought about it right now.
Really good
good.
segue.
That's
Yeah.
well done. That's a good little run. Thank you. But the Night King is dead. Game of Thrones now is a whole different show that a lot of us expected to be in the final season. We thought this whole battle against the Night King was going to be it, but the show reminded us this week, no. It's actually called Game of Thrones because it's about the people trying to backstab, screw, and basically fight each other for the Iron Throne. And we just kind of swept the Night King right off the board, because after what was a very harrowing and hard to see for a lot of people episode, Arya Stark came out from stage left and threw a dagger up in the guts of the Night King and took him out. So Arya is now the main hero of the realms who stopped the Night King. Cersei Lannister is still down in the south with the Golden Company and the Iron Fleet at her back. Meanwhile, in the north, everybody's half dead from being chewed on by zombies all night, and they still got to go down there and kind of whoop Cersei's butt.
Does a zombie bite turn you to a zombie?
Not in Game of Thrones, because all those zombies did was swarm. From what I saw, it was just a big mound of people jumping on you and just biting and hacking at you.
And they use weapons too, right?
They were like ants. Yeah, they were like a swarm of ants.
Not that you could see it in Sunday's episode, but
No, but so Battle of Winterfell, even with the hard to see stuff, I thought it was really intense.
It was a good episode.
Good episode. I think
Great.
a friend of mine on Twitter that my favorite trick has been like, I haven't been this tense for this long since the 2016 election or something like that. Like,
That's great.
yeah. But yeah, real edge of your seat stuff. But I love the memes now about how things have flipped over because, of course, a lot of people lived through this episode. More people than we thought. And there's like a meme of Captain Picard saying on the one hand, like, Game of Thrones season 1, I can't believe they killed the main character, and then it flips around the other side to Game of Thrones season 8. I can't believe all these main characters lived. Like, so yeah,
that was the problem for me though. Like, I mean, and I want to preface this by saying I really, really, really liked the episode a lot. I thought it was incredible that was on my television on a Sunday night. Because I feel like if you don't preface by saying you enjoyed something and then you criticize it, everybody thinks you hate it today. But so I do think that I never felt stakes in this episode.
how dare you?
I didn't. When Jon Snow was surrounded by zombies rising up, I should have felt like, oh my gosh, Jon is gonna die. 4 years ago, I would have felt that. 4 seasons ago, I'd have been like, you know what? Holy crap! I can't believe they're gonna kill Jon Snow. But in watching that moment, I was like, someone's going to come save him. I don't know how he's going to get out of this, but he's going to get out of this, and he shouldn't.
Yeah.
And then, lo and behold, after trying to build the suspense and having all the zombies rise up, Dany comes in on her dragon out of nowhere and saves Jon's life. And I was just like, okay. It was a cool moment. It was visually pretty fun to watch, but I felt like I didn't feel the Game of Thrones stakes. It felt different to me than the Battle of the Bastards or the Battle at Hardhome. In those battles, I really thought people could die. And when the horses were charging at Jon Snow, when the arrows were going up at his brother, I was just that whole all those sequences in those 2 battles I thought were really like breathtaking. Like you felt like you were suffocating with Jon Snow
What
when
do you
he
think
was.
the differences between the two?
I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
I honestly thought Brienne was gonna go. And I think like I figured like she had her big moment, and then like okay, then definitely she's someone we may lose.
I wish I don't know what the difference is. I think maybe the show has gotten so big that it's changed and we do feel like a sense of plot armor for these characters, since maybe also because we're so close to the end and we know they're going to be needed. But I will say Brienne and like Jaime and Tyrion, I thought Tyrion was going to die, and that was probably the most suspenseful moment for me. And I do want to compliment the scene where Arya was in the library. Thought that was well shot and that was suspenseful, but I think when Tyrion and Sansa had their conversation in the crypt,
Suicide Pact,
and he walked out, I thought, are they going to
them.
kill? I thought that was the moment where Tyrion's going to die. He's going to sacrifice himself for Sansa, and that made me nervous. And that was the only time in the episode I felt like
the only time actually I felt stakes in the episode was not people who were the main focus of a scene were going to die, but the people who came in and saved them I thought would die.
Right.
So like I thought Dany coming in saving Jon and then facing like the moment she faces the Night King and the dragon and the fire doesn't work, like I thought she might die right there. I was like, and I thought one of them might go. Like Dany or Jon or Tyrion or somebody really big.
But it was never the person that was actually like the focus.
Of the change.
But and at the same time, I think we're going to see so many of these characters die this season. I think they're going to just start getting wiped. But I just felt like
I'm no longer so sure. Like that's the whole thing with me.
I don't know.
Like,
I'm
I'm not so sure. And I think
Would
There's gotta be
that be the biggest surprise if we end the season and
everyone is still alive now.
everyone's still there?
Game of
well,
life.
I don't think they'll die in the war with Cersei. I think true to the show's
There will be
nature,
betrayals.
yeah, it'll be betrayals because they've been building this. It's like mainly within the Starks and Targaryens now. The Lannisters will get kind of pushed
Dany
off
and
the
Jon know they need each other right now.
yeah.
And I think one of them is going to realize they have to betray the other. And I think that's what's going to happen.
And I think it's gonna be Dany who realizes she.
But I don't think she'll win for it. I think
Exactly.
I do think she's more cutthroat, but it would be more surprising and so much more satisfying if Jon is the one to make the betrayal and win. And like
So I think 2 weeks ago you said you thought Arya would take the throne.
I still think Arya
Do
will.
you
I
still
still
think
do,
she takes
too.
the throne?
I think Arya. I still
I think everything
Arya,
in this
they're gonna give her
episode with
two-
Melisandre
Two
looking at her.
giant like things and to end this whole show. She kills the Night King and she gets the throne.
I think she could still become Jon Snow.
I think she'll become the prince who was promised because it'll just be like, a sexist thing that like they only said it could be a prince who was promised.
And they teased that when they knighted
Yeah.
Brienne.
Yeah, and it'll be a
That
princess
titles don't matter.
who was promised.
Titles with regarding gender don't matter.
Exactly. So like I think it'll be the prince who was promised will turn out to be Arya. yeah, I don't see John just kind of Ned Starked himself in the second episode, going in the crypts and being like, "I got to tell you something," at like the worst possible time to tell a queen who's already like, "I might have to kill your sister," to tell her, "Yeah, I'm challenging your rule to the throne." After everything Dany's been through, like to get here, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't see how that works out. I think this boils down to, even if everything goes well in the war with Cersei, you still got two people, each with a dragon, each with a claim to the throne.
Dude, is there 2 dragons left?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
We saw them in the trailer.
And that's what the original Dance of Dragons was. It was a female Targaryen versus a male Targaryen challenging for, I forget exactly their names, for control of the throne, and that's what happened. So it's all kind
Remember
of
when Dany used to be everybody's favorite character? And now Arya Stark is just unanimously the best character. Although her killing the Night King was bittersweet to me. I want an explanation. I know people are saying, "Oh, we know the Night King is just death." I don't know.
he's the first man that the Children of the Forest created as a weapon against men, and then they got burned by their own weapon. It was like nuclear war. Yeah.
I just want to know why.
Why? What?
Why? What was the purpose of? Like, what was he doing this whole time? Where is he from?
He wanted to erase all of humanity. That was what he was created for. The Children of the Forest. Okay, so the first men come to Westeros, which is a land inhabited only by mystical creatures. The Children of the Forest, the dragons, all that stuff.
Story time.
The first men come, they start cutting down the mystical trees. It's all this kind of industrialization metaphor. So the Children of the Forest want to fight back. They don't have a weapon, so they create one. They use a dragon glass to stab that first man and create the Night King, who creates all these White Walkers, which are basically like a plague. And they sent them to kill humanity. That's what they're supposed to do. Erase men from the land. That's their whole purpose. The White Walkers are like, F that, we're killing everybody. And they kill the Children of the Forest. And then like the men and the children had to unite, beat them in the War for Dawn, because they caused the Night King he wins the first time. He causes the Long Night. Then the children and the men unite. They have the War for Dawn. They win, and they come to like that uneasy alliance.
So, but do you understand the wish for more on the Night King? Or?
Yeah, I think I do, because I think the last few seasons of the show, specifically season 7 in the time jump, made the Night King this major focus and kind of made you feel like he's the story. But that's not how it is. And in the books, they literally are a force. There is no White King.
He was the glorified,
There's no
over-advertised subplot.
Exactly.
He really was.
In the books, there is no Night King. The White Walkers are just a thing, and they have semi-intelligent leaders, the Whites, and that's all there is, because that's all it is. It's just a big hulking army of dead things that keep walking towards us.
Yeah. So we just had. I mean, it was an incredible moment. Like, I haven't shouted out loud in my TV set in a long time, or maybe ever. But so when Arya killed him, I loved it. But then I was like, I thought that was going to matter more.
Nope, it's Snoke.
But it doesn't. Man, that's
just
whatever.
a whole Snoke.
So who blew a bigger lead? I think this is a good way to tie both these topics up into one. Who blew a bigger lead, Thanos or the Night King?
I mean, the Night King definitely. I mean, everybody was on the ropes in that slow-mo montage. Like, everybody was dead. Like, he had it all laced up. Jon was pinned by a dragon.
Thanos literally did his goal and still managed to start the game over and lose.
I mean, you can never go, once you play that second game, once you say yes to a best of 3.
So if the Night King had killed Bran, would he have won? What's next if he kills Bran?
I think there would have been nothing in his way to be stopped.
Except Arya would have still been there.
Well, it's not that. Bran is the three-eyed raven is the history of mankind. As long as the three-eyed raven's there, even if men die, like, he can reconstitute humanity because he remembers everything about civilization. If you take him out, and then kill all of humanity, it's like the Dark Ages, and they don't end.
He should have just had someone else kill Bran. Like, they were all there.
Yep, I mean, and he could have, and that was his mistake, trying to boss up and be a big man, and he got himself killed.
It was great. I'm just nitpicking. I do think it was a brilliantly entertaining.
Yeah.
Episode.
Now see the Night King hangover thing is an interesting point, because now it brings up, can people be as interested in the finale of this show as
I feel like no,
they were?
I don't. I think I lost. I mean, I'm gonna watch it and I'm gonna try to find out. But it definitely, like, my interest was peaking with this battle against the White Walkers, and I think that was a huge reason that I was very invested to this point. Maybe this episode 4 reminds me of why I'm so invested in the Cersei.
Because we haven't seen Cersei much this season, so there's been no reason to kind of cheer.
Right. So I don't know, but I remember when that episode ended, I was like, well, can't the show just like end now? Oh, that's right. They have other stuff to do too. So the characters we're rooting for are really back against the wall because they don't have enough people anymore.
Yeah.
From the reactions
We'll
on
see.
social media, I feel like the person who doesn't pay attention to Game of Thrones would have honestly assumed that was the series
Oh,
finale.
for sure.
For just the fervor that was around it. So I will be curious to see if you guys actually.
But see,
I
like,
think
like,
that
I'm,
will
but,
be
like
the
I'm
highest
that
rated.
person, and like for me, it's having watched this. It feels like this first half has been everything that like everyone has kind of always talked about Game of Thrones and with its battles and stuff like that. And I feel like I've gotten all I need out of that. But now what I want to see more is more of the backstabbing and all that stuff that everyone talks about. And I feel like that's how we're gonna
get back to the politics now.
And so I, for me as someone who's just knows literally nothing about Game of Thrones except for what I'm watching in these episodes, I'm really intrigued to see what the whole deal is with Cersei and like what she's capable of.
So they kind of cleared the runway a bit.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
Yeah, this is like final battle that this is it.
Okay.
So I
I do think that'll be
and
the
it's
highest
back to the
rated
beginning
episode,
because
maybe
it
besides
was
the series finale. I don't think the next 2 episodes top ratings or tweets that more than this episode.
probably.
not front loaded. If something crazy happens, like if Cersei blows up King's Landing and everybody
I just
again,
feel like even in the days leading up to it, it was like, oh, we have the Battle of Winterfell this week. Everybody tune in this week. Next week, I don't think you're going to see people on Saturday saying you have to watch it tomorrow night.
And it was impressive amongst all the
I think it'll
Endgame
take this
stuff,
episode will do something that makes the Monday morning water cooler.
Right.
Again, people will sleep on it and then be like, "Oh my God, you didn't realize like this thing happened!" Like, and that'll be the twist. So we're looking forward to it. I'm sure we'll be talking about it next week. But that'll take us to the end of the show and then some. This has been Comic Book Nation. If you are riding with us or if you've just jumped on in these Avengers Endgame episodes, you can find new episodes every Wednesday, every Friday on Comicbook.com, where you can subscribe to our RSS feed, or you can go on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts and subscribe in any one of those locations. If you have anything that you heard that you like or made you angry or just want to join the conversation, we're online on Twitter at the hashtag Comic Book Nation. You can also find me at Kofi Outlaw.
You can find me at Matt Aguilar CB.
You can find me at Brandon Davies PD. And also, I hope you'll watch our evening with Joe Russo on Monday night at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. It'll be broadcast on the Comicbook.com Facebook page. We're going to take a deep dive into Avengers Endgame with the co-director himself from his restaurant Duello in LA.
We're gonna grill him about Captain America.
I was going to say, you better ask.
Everything we just talked about here, we will do our best to get the answers.
So if you guys heard that opportunity and you have questions for one of the directors of Endgame, hit up Brandon Davis or Comic Book Nation hashtag, and you better get them in because, it's going down.
You have a chance.
Full hour.
Full hour
interrogation.
with the guy who made all this time travel madness that is bending your brain now.
Timey-wimey.
So be sure to get those in. That's it for Comic Book Nation today. Thanks for riding with us, and we hope you're emotionally secure after this weekend of Endgame and the Battle of Winterfell. If you need anybody to talk to Matt. He's very supportive.
Oh.
And that'll do it for us. We're out.